They are champions again, as I say, for the 5th time in 6 seasons. Stuart Pearce is a former City player and manager, of course, left back in 2007. They are only the 3rd team in English top-flight history to win it 5 times out of 6. And in this Premier League era and the competition we've seen, just put that achievement into context for us.
Well, it's probably only Alex at Manchester that sort of dominated this division for that length of period of time. Manchester City are in the middle of that process at the moment. They've got a fantastic manager at the helm who's done a brilliant job at City. Where they might go on to, I don't know, because I've been up there of recent times, and the standard of football that they're developing at the moment is football that I've never seen before, if I'm being quite honest with you. They took the field against Arsenal in a must-win game, by the way, when Arsenal come to the Etihad, and played them off the pitch from start to finish. They've done the same again in semi-finals against Bayern and against Real Madrid, and played a standard of football that's just absolutely mind-blowing.
And the achievement, but also the way they've done it this season, 11 wins in a row, to claw back that points tally while still getting to an FA Cup final and a Champions League final.
Yeah, I think we've seen it before with the great teams. At the end of the season, they just seem to hit another gear and just motor away. And faultless, no mistakes. You know, lots of teams did it. I remember the teams that Stuart's referring to, the Manchester United team. You'd often see them make a lot of mistakes early in the season, but they always say sort of March, April, May onwards, they were just really kicked into gear. And I think it's the same with this Manchester City team at the moment. They've got everyone fit. They've got everyone absolutely on top of their game for the real, run-in for the title. And as Stuart mentioned, recently, some of the football they've played, well, it's drawing comparisons to some of the great teams of all time. I don't think you can quite call them that just yet. They haven't won a Champions League. They've not won the treble yet. Yes, they've won and dominated the Premier League. But I think they've got to go and win a Champions League as well before you can start comparing them. But what your eyes are telling you, watching it visually, is as good as I've ever seen, I think, just in these last few weeks. I watched that Champions League semi-final the other day, and I just thought, how do you play against that? Yeah. You simply cannot play. They are just too good. It's almost perfection, what we're watching.
This is why I look at Arsenal, and as disappointing as it is to go as far as you did, to push City as far as you can, because we know what they're averaging in respect of points. When you looked at what they've done to that Real Madrid side and how easily they dismantled them, they are a class and a step above everybody else. The only thing you can say you can maybe fault or try to find fault with is, are they going to have a problem mentally? Are they going to think this is too easy? And we saw what happened early on in the season with after the Tottenham game. Pep had a kind of it's a call to arms. What's going on? Why is everybody just gone complacent? And that is the only thing I think can stop them, because we know that they can replenish the squad with the very, very best. The levels are gone to another level. And this is why it's going to be very tough to beat them, because as long as their mentality is strong, it's going to take some team to beat them.
I think as well, when you look, the tactical nuances that he keeps coming up with just work, and players fit that. And there used to be times where, in recent times, I used to go there with West Ham, and you think, we could get something from a set play here, we can rough them up. And all of a sudden you think, in their back line, the smallest one's Carl Walker at 6'1". They're physical, very big animals now. You can't score from set plays against them. And you think, well, where do we go from here?
Human nature is, when you win something, you celebrate and then you come back for more. But the hardest thing in these great teams is to keep doing it. To do it 5 times in 6 seasons against some of the teams, Arsenal this season, Liverpool, that they've been up against, how do you maintain that mentally, that desire and hunger?
Well, I think those great champions, they almost believe that trophy will be theirs now, that they own it, it belongs to them. And the thought of anybody taking their possession is quite a galling thought. So I think that they're at that point now where they believe they're the best players, best team in the Premier League. And I think that's the one thing, because motivation changes over years. It might, to start with in life, it might be to make a name for yourself, to play in the Premier League. And then after that, it might be you know, to win the Premier League. And then after that, it might be the fear of someone chasing you and taking your title. And then it might be to provide for your family, or there might be lots and lots of different reasons. And motivation changes over years, I can assure you of that. So they've got to find new ways of being motivated. And that might be what Stuart refers to as well. Pep Guardiola might be challenging them in many ways to play a new, you know, with John Stones now going into midfield whenever they've got the ball. It's a new way of playing. It's a new way of, can we master this new tactical nuance? So I think for the manager, for the players, they've got to keep finding new ways of staying able, because I thought halfway through the Premier League season this year, I thought already I was looking forward to next season. I was thinking, wow, all the money Chelsea are spending, Liverpool, they've got to bounce back. Arsenal are flying. Out of nowhere, Arsenal are flying. You know, and then you've got Tottenham that can always be there. Manchester United, you were thinking, they're back to it. Newcastle, I was thinking next season, I don't know who's going to win it. But then all of a sudden, bump, they've gone into overdrive, and now they really are the team to beat.
But they can do that. We know at some stage they can put together a 10, 11, 12 game unbeaten run. But then what does help a squad that is so elite is when you bring in elitism, like Erling Haaland. You know, that gives you a lift. You know what I mean? You bring someone like Erling Haaland in, he's an unbelievable signing for them, just to top it off again. And then that keeps you going. That keeps you going again. You want to prove to Erling Haaland, yes, we can do this, then Erling Haaland now is a champion.
I think when you're looking, if you're Manchester City now and you're the owners of Manchester City, I would be looking and saying, right, what stopped Manchester United's dominance of English football just recently? And it was the figurehead stepping down. That will be the worry for me. When Pep steps down, have we got someone in to absolutely replace him like for like, as near as damn it, and keep this juggernaut going?
Fascinating. Well, earlier on Matchday Live, when that full-time whistle went at the City ground, we got some more reaction from two former City players. Shay Given, the former City goalkeeper, is with us. Did you expect this to happen today without kicking a ball, first of all?
No, definitely not. Obviously, Forest are fighting for their lives, of course, but I thought Arsenal would have won today. I really did. Maybe even a draw, but just give credit to Forest. The job that Steve Cooper's done is phenomenal. And I think Arsenal, obviously, the race is run, isn't it? Arsenal maybe didn't approach the game properly. I suppose the same as Brighton last week. They didn't have the right mentality to really push it to the last 2 games of the season. So yeah, huge congratulations to my old club. I don't know how they're going to celebrate because they've got a big game tomorrow in Chelsea, but I would imagine there'll be some sort of get together, I would think, tonight. It's a special night for the players and the staff, of course. And you mentioned Pep Guardiola there, Steve, and the job he's done. 5 titles in 6 years is just an unbelievable record. Well, how do you follow this man? I don't know, but he's a special manager, and the squad and the players that he's assembled and the brand of football is just out of this world. And they're at the top of the tree again, and everyone's trying to catch up.
Yeah, Pep Guardiola's won the title in 11 of his 14 seasons as a manager. Was there at a stage this season where you thought he might not with Arsenal's lead?
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal were flying. I think they had a lead in January. I think it was that wasn't, no team didn't win the league. Had the same amount of points in January, but they just kept going the last whatever amount of games. The home run for Man City was just, they got the bit between their teeth, as they seem to do in the second half of the season, every single season. And they just chase down teams, or they're at the top of the league, and they win every single game. They're relentless. They're a team of winners. They're a squad of winners. The likes of Alvarez, who's on the bench most weeks, who's just won the World Cup. The strength and depth, Foden, Mahrez, all these guys aren't even on the pitch. And then you look at Haaland this year, 52 goals. Just a phenomenal record. Jack Grealish has come into his own this year. Bernardo Silva. I mean, the list goes on. De Bruyne. I mean, you could be here all day. Gundogan gave us some important goals at key moments. The performances all over the pitch. John Stones is playing 7 different positions, I think. So there's some outstanding performances.
And Shay, finally, any doubt in your mind they're going to do this treble now? 2 huge cup finals to play.
Yeah, the only question now is, what does Pep do to the remaining 3 games? Obviously, you've got Chelsea tomorrow, 4 o'clock, and then, Brighton and Brentford the last 2 games. So you don't want to just down tools now and play the reserves, because they've got a huge couple of games and 2 cup finals. He has to keep the fitness right and the balance right, and keep the mentality right, because everyone thinks they're just going to turn up and go finals and win it. But we all know in sport and football it's never that easy, Steve. So it's just getting the balance right with fitness and keeping his best players sharp for both finals. But just want to say huge congratulations to the lot of them. What a great season again.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you tomorrow from the Etihad. You've got a lucky ticket to see that trophy presented. Shay, thank you very much indeed. Our good friend Owen Hargreaves was in the Manchester City squad when they won their first ever Premier League title. Can you believe there's 6 others now that have followed, Owen?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's the one thing that really surprised me when I was there, was the quality of the football club. You know, not just the players, you know, that you saw, the Yaya Toure and David Silva and Sergio Aguero. It was more the fact what they also had behind the scenes in the whole football club. I was blown away at kind of in every department they had the best of the best. And I just think then you see what they're going to go on to achieve and the greatness they're going to achieve. I think people see the players and the managers, Pep, but what they have behind the scenes is as good as what you guys see on the football pitch. And that's why they continue to set the standards, I think, for everybody. And
you were part of that Bayern Munich squad that relentlessly won titles. Give us an insight of how you develop that kind of mentality that City have shown to get 5 in 6 seasons in a league as hard as the Premier League.
Well, I think it comes from Pep and it comes from the top, because if you think back to January, you know, some of the issues that they had, you know, obviously Cancelo leaving, that was a huge surprise, arguably the best fullback in the world. You know, I think even Gundogan at times was critical of the team. Pep was critical of the body language of the players. They had some issues, but I think Pep called them out, even publicly. And then I think eventually, you know, whether Cancelo was an issue within the football club, I don't know, but he left. And all of a sudden, John Stones come in at right back and been absolutely magnificent. You think about the impact that Kanji's had, which Ake has had. This is a different Manchester City team. You know, before we always had those brilliant world-class fullbacks. Now Zinchenko's gone. Gabriel Jesus is gone. Sterling's gone. The players that he didn't feel fit the mold anymore, he went in and replaced them. And the players have come in and done an incredible job. And I think it stems from Pep. Pep makes big calls. You know, if he doesn't like something, he calls it out, like the body language in January. And then all of a sudden they have the capacity to go on these incredible runs where they can go and win 11 games in a row. And in the end, you know, they got the top scorer in the division in HAALAND in 36. They got the top creator in Kevin De Bruyne. They've got the most goals scored. They got the best defense. They virtually tick every box. And I think Pep isn't satisfied with mediocrity. You know, he wants the best of the best. And that's why, you know, this could go down as one of the greatest teams we've ever seen. If they win the treble, they put themselves in a conversation with only the best of the best.
So, I've got one question for you. How does Pep do it?
Leadership, character, clarity, great communicator, friendship, probably. And someone had the capacity to see what's happening 5 seconds before anybody else.
It was always kind of a dream, you know, to call him one day your manager. The connection with Pep, how we both see the game, it's a joy.
We speak often about the team, but in a lot of sense, he gives me a lot of freedom. I don't know why. I think most of the time he just let me be me.
I've never seen anyone actually love the game like him, you know. You could obviously see on the touchline sometimes when how passionate he is, you know, how he wants the best from everyone every single day. He's the most passionate guy I've ever seen for football.
He demands so much from us as players and individuals and won't stop. You know, he says it over and over, it's his obligation. And there's always that feeling of you can do more or you can be better. It takes that winning something to realise, right, that's the benchmark, now we've got to recreate that.
I think it changed everybody in football. And whether you like it or not, it changed the game.
Pep Guardiola, genius, another title for Manchester City. That is number 7 in the Premier League era. Only Manchester United have got more. In top flight history, that is 9 titles now. And that is only Manchester United, Liverpool and Arsenal who are ahead of Manchester City. And 5 of those 7 titles have been won by one Pep Guardiola. And Stuart, as I said to Owen there, he's won 11 titles in his 14 seasons as a manager. You've been in that dugout, you've been in the office, you know how difficult a job is it. How do you produce a record like that as a manager?
Attention to detail is something that when I talk to people around City, that is one of the things that they say, both on and off the football pitch, the attention to detail. The drive that he's got, I think all of us that go and work as pundits, go in the stadium, you sit behind him and every pass, there's a reaction to it, for good or for bad. And to bring that energy on a daily basis takes some doing. And I think the big one for me with the top managers, they know when to move players on at the right time. I think his old manager, Arsene Wenger, once said, if their legs are going to go, let them go on someone else's pitch, not mine, which is a great quote. And some of the players that had left and turned over that Owen mentioned, you know, they left the club and you scratch your head a little bit. And I'll go back to Joe Hart as well, when he changed Joe Hart, and you think, ooh, that's a bit premature. All of a sudden, this other fella comes in and you think, wow, that's what great managers do. They evolve before us mere mortals think the team should evolve.
Yeah, Stuart just mentioned energy there. It's a great point. You know what it takes to win a league and what it takes out of you. Yeah. But to continually come back, not only go again, but win again.
And a manager, like, people think, you know, you hear people say ridiculous things that I would have, like the Barcelona team, I could have won the league, I could have won the Champions League with that Barcelona team. But to get those players and collate the players he's got, and then to keep them motivated to play the kind of football they're playing at the levels, so like continually, that, you know, it, like Stuart said, it's the preparation, it's the attention to detail, it's somebody of that level who knows that every single margin, every single inch means so much, and he won't let his players. You see some of them quotes from the players. You know, he's relentless with what he wants from you. He wants you to be better all the time, and he can't understand it when you're not giving everything. And like Stuart rightly said, he moves the players on at the perfect time, and that's another gift if you're a top manager. Yeah. That's a gift.
And only he and Sir Alex Ferguson, in English top flight history, have now won 3 titles in a row. 2 huge cup finals to come. If they win that and they win the treble, are we looking at arguably the best team we've ever seen in the Premier League here?
Visually, I think they are the best team I've ever seen, I think. But I'm not talking about the last, 5 years ago, 4 years. They were brilliant, don't get me wrong. But this team over the last sort of couple of months has impressed me more than any other team, I think. I've rarely watched another team and thought, how do you stop that? Their players are unbelievable. Their manager is frightening. Everything about this team at the moment, as I say, the first half of football the other night against Real Madrid, I've never seen anything like it in my life. I just was totally, I couldn't find the words to describe it. It was just men against boys. They absolutely battered a great team. Let alone they couldn't get in their half. They couldn't get out their own third. Real Madrid. They just swarmed them for 45 minutes. Listen, they continued in the second half, but the first half was something I've never seen before. And I think if they add trophies, which they've obviously done, but they need to add the Champions League trophy. If they add that to their collection, then we can start the debate. I think without being a Champions League winner, I don't think you can have that debate just yet.
What about domestically with 5 titles in 6 seasons?
Well, it's impressive. As soon as you put the chart up there, I'm thinking to myself, if I was in Pep's head at the moment, I'm looking at Manchester United and those 13. I'm thinking, I want to knock that over before I leave this football club. The big thing for Manchester City is holding on to this fella. He understands Manchester City. They love him to bits. He's evolving the team as we go. Every time a player steps away from it, you've got to replace him, whether it be De Bruyne in a couple of years, or it be Cole Walker, who's I think is a very he's such an underrated player. Yeah. Incredible player for England and whatever.
Yeah. Is there a manager out there though that you could think off the top of your head that you could think, right, if Pep left tomorrow, could anybody replace him? Is there anyone at his level?
Tomorrow, you're guessing, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think you're guessing simply because Pep's he's a one-off in how he's been. You know what I mean? Wenger's different. Sir Alex is different. All of them are different. Ancelotti, they're all different. But Pep's brought something else with a passion and a work and a and a desire that, and just like his knowledge on the game and how he makes players even better than, you know, we know what they are. It's very difficult to look at anybody and see who could come in, like you say, tomorrow. Now, you know, people are already talking about like Vincent Kompany and the way he started, and it's obviously the way he's got that team playing. You could see like Pepisms in him. So another 3-4 years, you want to see someone, how he's going to develop. But to replace Pep right now, to come in and do what Pep's doing with this team and the riches that they've got, I don't know who could do that.
Pep Guardiola, one very happy manager tonight, but the other side of the story from the City ground, there is another one, and that is Steve Cooper, the Nottingham Forest manager, because he's seen his side